What's up, human soundboard?
No. Oh?
You know what my goal is for this episode, Jeff?
What's that?
For me to not be the voice out of the two of us that breaks the microphone every time I talk by talking way too loud. It'd be great if my audio... I mean, you can get away with that with your privilege, but I can't. I have...
With my white privilege.
Yeah, I have resting loud voice.
Schuyler has never enjoyed.
This is a disability that I have where I just can't not yell.
You have Caucasianness as a disability. and the inability to yell.
I have privileged white guy in the front row of a stand-up show energy.
To be fair, I've seen you as a privileged white guy in the front rows stand-up shows, and I thought you've acquitted yourself quite well. And if I'm honest, there are certain friends of ours who have done worse.
I would call him a friend of ours.
Okay. There's at least a friend of mine who...
Yeah, call him a friend of yours. I don't know this guy.
We're getting closer and closer to doxing him. Let's just go step by step for the next hour.
Oh, it's a male, is it? Okay, Jeff.
Oh.
Information that you just revealed.
Oh, and he has docs. He has an address, you're saying? He's not homeless? All right, that rules out a big chunk of the population.
Wait, say that again? He has docks?
Oh.
He works in the shipyard?
Yeah. He's in a maritime situation.
Oh, maritime. He exists within time.
Oh, and Mary.
He's a temporal being. This could be only one of one people that we know. This is bad podcasting.
3 billion.
Do you want to talk about soccer? Soccer ball?
Yeah.
Ooh, before we get into the professionals, and I didn't make this as an item to talk about, but could I give you a Nostalgia FC update?
Please do.
Last weekend, not the one that was just 3 days ago, but a week and a half ago, we were in the playoffs for our Sunday league. We have playoffs because we're in America.
Playoffs? I'm gonna be a human soundboard the whole day now.
I mean, so far you've saved us a lot of money by switching to Jeff. But we had to play a play-in round, kind of like the shittiest teams in March Madness have to do, where it's like, to even be in the madness, you have to show us how mad you are with one extra match. And we played the first match, we beat that team, and we had an hour to sit around and wait, and then we played against the team that was better than us, who did not have a play-in. We were down 2-0 pretty early, and they were outplaying us. We hung in there, and then with a few minutes left, our striker scored. He's like a human cannon, Christian. Scored a blast from, like, I want to say
cannon.
Yeah. There was like religious fervor behind the shot. He has the best shot of any person that I've seen, like, in live playing with them football. Like, he's really great.
Wow.
So that makes it 2-1. Then with, I think, the second or third to last kick of the game, I play a ball from right back over the top that somehow just awkwardly bounces in the way that I don't think it was Christian. I think it was someone else. Mo, another one of our players. He was able to, like, just toe poke it home, and we tied it with like 5 seconds left. Wow. So I went full Trent Alexander-Arnold, and didn't defend well, and instead contributed to a goal. And we went to extra time. So this is now extra time on top of the full game, on top of the original full game. We don't concede in extra time. It goes to penalties. We are down multiple rounds in penalties, and somehow we won in penalties in like the 8th or 9th round. People are like, who wants to take a PK? And I'm like, nobody at that. Like, if you didn't take one already, you're in the group that does not want this responsibility.
Oh, wait, so you got out to like penalty number 7 kind of thing?
Yeah, and people are just like, who wants one now? And everyone's like, I don't want to.
Did you take one?
No, I was like, fuck. I'm like injured, exhausted at this point.
Wow.
Our reward for winning in penalties is to immediately begin a game against the first place undefeated team, who also did not have a play-in round. They played one game before us, so they had 60 minutes into their legs, and we had at this point 130 something minutes, 140 minutes in our legs, and then we had to play a whole additional game, which we lost. We lost 4-2, but it was really close. Like I think didn't level it, but we were within a goal for the whole game, and that last goal was just like the third goal you scored against United when we visited. So not legitimate,
awesome.
Not legitimate at all.
It was really fun to watch. Is that what you mean?
No, it was just like obnoxious and bad at singing. Okay, so that happened, and then I could not bend my knee for 3 days after that. Like I was really hurt from I was running on an injury in that last game.
Running on injury.
Who would that be by? What song is that?
Running on empty, run along. Is that Wings? Is that Paul McCartney? My neighbor here in London?
It's good to know that even Paul McCartney is capable of writing bad music.
Paul McCartney's one of those guys where it's almost like the majority of what he writes, but then the other stuff is like yesterday,
Which he wrote earlier than yesterday, a long time ago.
Did you know what the original chorus was to Yesterday?
Tomorrow.
No, it was scrambled eggs.
Was it?
Yeah, and he didn't know what to do. He had the melody, but he only had nonsense lyrics. And it was like scrambled eggs and a toast, and
Paul McCartney.
To be fair, he can judge a melody. That is a good melody. You should keep working with that, until you make it into Yesterday.
What do you guys think about these lyrics? I can't get enough of these tossed salads and scrambled eggs. That sounds like the Frasier theme song, Paul.
If you told me that he had scored Frasier, I'd sort of believe you. He scored a bunch of weird movies that no one has watched, and I don't know. He does a bunch of that.
Did he do The Rocketeer?
I have no idea.
You haven't seen The Rocketeer, I take it.
Remind me what it's about.
I think it's about the Nazis and Howard Hughes and this guy who finds a Nazi weapon. It's like a jetpack, and he's a stunt fighter pilot. A stunt fighter pilot. And he finds this thing.
His name was Peter Filet.
Great at admin work.
Sorry.
There was a junior Filet, I think, that played in the Premier League at one point.
That sounds right.
It's Junior Hoylett. But to finish the Rocketeer summary, he has this jetpack, and he flies around with it, and he kind of gets addicted to being able to fly around whenever he wants. And in the end, he has to kill the head Nazi, who is Timothy Dalton, who played James Bond. So James Bond plays a Nazi in a different movie.
Wow. I love the fan theories that are just dripping from that. Of 007 is really a fascist. He's really...
But where's the evidence there? Because I feel like other than the fact that he's...
put one and one together, Schuyler.
He's unwilling. 11. He's unwilling to romantically commit, so he's ethically non-monogamous, liberal. I mean,
noted vegan or whatever.
He likes guns. That's maybe the only thing I could argue you've got. But isn't that all spies?
If I told you,
best James Bond movie in your opinion?
You know what's funny about James Bond movies? For a big franchise, most of them are kind of garbage. If you judge them individually, it's these are 70s B movies. They're kind of silly. They're a little bit schlocky, and they're fun. But I think those are the ones that I like the best. When you get to that Skyfall era, even the Pierce Brosnan era, which is funny enough to laugh at now.
But they tried to elevate it.
I remember it enough at the time where it was oh, you really want me to take this seriously? And no, I refuse. The best James Bond, hot take alert, siren emoji, is the GoldenEye N64 game.
You could have just been best James Bond movie, season 4 of Archer.
Oh,
I think that's interesting. But your answer is still technically a Pierce Brosnan Bond. Brosnan.
But it's That's like a B movie of video games. Is like a how many bits are like how many what is it called, like the shapes that they have to draw the characters out of?
Polygons?
Yeah, they had just enough polygons to make Odd Job look very racist.
They overemphasize the odd, not the
Yeah.
job. Okay. Well, honestly, after you said all that, though, my answer is actually, I think my answer is Skyfall.
Yeah,
Because
that is a good movie.
But when I watched it in theaters, it felt like, oh fuck, is this the end of James Bond? It feels like would be a good movie to be like, that's enough. We've done it. We've done enough. Poor James has run through enough fires. Does he run through fires? He's put out enough fires.
Just like enough is never enough.
Yeah, enough's enough when Hollywood gets sick of profit. So we'll wait for that to happen. But who are they? Aren't they getting the dude who played Elvis to become the new Bond?
Oh, are they?
Wasn't that the scuttlebutt?
Yeah, that sounds better. That's one of those like Hollywood stories that is always going on, and I've never cared about. Even when I kind of cared when it was Idris Elba, just because I have a thing where I think he's great.
That's called attraction, Jeff. You can just say it's called attraction.
No, okay, fine. I'm attracted to him. No, that doesn't sound right.
You want him to be undressed, Elba. I get it.
No. Honestly, I just liked him because I thought he was from Maryland, and it turns out that he's not. But if you can fool me, then that's okay.
Wait, Idris Elba? Isn't he from London or the UK at least?
But dude, he's so unlike a lot of the actors in The Wire. The Wire is probably the best written show in my opinion. But
he's in The Wire.
Idris Elba, yeah.
I only watched a bit of the first season, and I turned it off when I got bored.
That's like the main season he's in. No,
I got bored.
Oh yeah. First season is a little bit slow, but I do think it's the best writing of any. Like it's like a novel, but the problem with it is that it does go slow, and many of the characters who are acting it and the people who are filming it are not as good as the writers. So it's like I think it's like a solid, like not quite God tier show, but it's like right on the edge.
I mean, I'd try it. I'd try it again. There are things that it's taken me multiple times to get into, but then once I finally got into it, I'm like, oh, Schitt's Creek, I like this. Yes, but like initially, I was like, I hate these people, and I hate where they are, and I hate every element of this.
I'd say like the thing about The Wire is like you have to get through like half of the season within 2 days to enjoy it. That first season because it moves slow. But if if you can put aside a Saturday and get into like 7 hours of TV, then you'll love it. But like that, if you just watch the first episode, you'll be like, yes, that is a show.
You want me to watch 7 hours of crime in Baltimore? That's just living in Baltimore.
It's much more than that in Baltimore. It's 24/7.
All right. Well, what else is there in Baltimore? Because we're already going 14 minutes into this podcast without even mentioning professional football, and I want to kind of see how long we can go.
If you wanted my recommendations for Baltimore, I would say Inner Harbor, can't miss tourist opportunity. You got both the Ravens and the Orioles stadiums nearby there. Easy to check out. A lot of good dining things and some nice things for the kids. The aquariums there, one of the best aquariums in the world. Let's be honest.
How do you judge an aquarium?
I would say honestly, sharks would be. You know what I mean? It's kind of like strikers make a team better. Like sharks are the strikers of aquariums. Where it's like if you told me, yeah, we got a lot of really solid coral. We got a bunch of like non-stinging stingrays. You're allowed to touch and all that. But like, let's be honest, we're here to see the man-eaters.
Having solid coral is like bragging. We do have a great training pitch for our club. You're like, I don't give a fuck about that.
You remember when Southampton tried to pull that where they were like, all right, we sold several generational players, but on the plus side, we just put in a not so great pitch for even intramural football, and we spent $5 bajillion on it. So
that'll be great.
Probably be the next Real Madrid.
That'll be great once we're relegated. We'll have that to lean on as a way to generate extra funds. Like we can rent out that pitch on the weekends.
Yeah,
poor Southampton. This is great, Jeff. I don't know what we're doing. It's like driving with our eyes closed on this podcast.
This is like jazz. Just
Okay. Do you want to pick a? I mean, the running order doesn't have to be the order. Do you want to pick a topic? Do you want to talk about? All right. Maybe skip. You skipped one. All right. So, all right. McTominay giveth.
Yeah, like it does have to be the order.
Yeah, it does have to start at the beginning, because this is the results, right? McTominay giveth, McTominay taketh away. 3 straight matches. This little ditty is covering Brentford, Sheffield United, and the Champions League match against FC Copenhagen, which happened just yesterday. So McTominay has scored 3 goals and given away 2 penalty kicks in these 3 games. Starting with Brentford, where we were losing that game on like a really obnoxious to concede goal, and then just looks like we're effed in this. We're gonna lose to a weakened Ivan Toney-less Brentford, and our season's pretty much over. We'll have a losing record, real embarrassing. And McTominay gets subbed on and scores 2 goals post 90th minute in there's 8 minutes of stoppage time or whatnot, and McTominay scores 2 goals. The guy can score goals. The problem is that he can't do central midfielder things. Like, he's not an astute defender. He's not positioned very well. He's a big body, not necessarily a great tackler, but he's a big body. And then when it comes to the offensive side of the game, he's afraid he can't pass the ball except for easy, simple passes. So he kind of hides from the ball earlier in build-up because he knows he's going to do something not helpful or fuck it up. But that effectively means we have 10 men on the field when we're passing. But somehow for Scotland, when he pushes forward, and for Scotland, he's a little bit more of an important player. They fling him up closer to the box, where he ends up playing more of something like a less passy Bruno Fernandes role, and he's almost like a second striker for them. And he scores goals against Spain. He scores goals against all sorts of top-level European opposition. But for United, he's a 0. But he comes into this match, 2 goals, wins the game almost single-handedly, and everyone on I was just about ready to be like, fuck, F this, when he scored the first goal. And then all of a sudden the United WhatsApp group just starts blowing up. That happened in Brentford. Sheffield United. God, I don't remember what happened in that. Oh, it was just the other day. So he scores a goal. So this is his 3rd goal in 2 games. And we're always like, McTominay is messy. And then immediately within 90 seconds gives away a handball in the box for a penalty kick. And so Sheffield United equalize, and United is just or our fans at least are just ready to walk straight out into the ocean and drown. We're just we need to win these games. We can't be just failing to compete with the worst team in the league. And then Diogo Dalot hits in the 80th minute or whatnot, just a brilliant bending upper 90 strike. He reminds you he's capable. Dalot is capable of being great defensively. He's capable of being an offensive contributor with assists and goals and crosses. He just never does it often. He just does it, on a Thursday that one time. And then finally, against FC Copenhagen, McTominay concedes another penalty in the 96th minute when we're winning 1-0, hanging on by a thread. The goal was scored by Harry Maguire. We'll get more on him in a second.
Yeah.
But we have this narrow 1-0 lead at home to FC Copenhagen. If you can't beat them, you are not progressing out of the Champions League group stages. We need to beat them twice, as a matter of fact. But anyway, McTominay concedes a penalty kick, this time by kicking someone practically in the face on a corner kick that would have been the last play of the game. It's can you just not do that? Can you figure out a different way to deal with it? He can't. His limits and his strengths were on display over the course of a match week. But all right, so jumping into the second topic, and then we'll get to Arsenal. Andre Onana.
You're allowed to have more than 5 minutes of this podcast. I know I don't usually give that to you, but technically you are allowed.
Dobby has a sock. Dobby is a free elf. Thank you, Jeff, for freeing me. But no, I just don't want to go on endlessly about it. But I'm used to penalty kick conceded, goal conceded. Like, to me, it's with De Gea, it was pretty much 1-to-1. Like, De Gea saved a few penalty kicks earlier on in his career, but then like didn't save one for like 5 years. So I'm used to penalty kicks being an automatic goal against. Onana, not only does he save it, it's not like it was shot right at him. It's a full extension. Like, only your body can do that. Penalty kick save. Like, the ball's almost past him. Like, it was truly maybe one of the most amazing things I've seen all season. And so he's had a bad time. And Harry Maguire's had a bad time. And in the last, let's say, 2 games, they've both proven that they're not the zeros that the media has chalked them up to be. Like, Onana saved that game. Harry Maguire scored the goal with a header, like a header down at the ground, like the way you would teach. Oh yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
I hate to interrupt you. Only for education of the sound quality, just so you know, you are now so close to the mic that it sounds like you're eating me.
Oh no,
It's just those little bits where you lean in, like ha rah rah rah. It probably sounds like that to you.
Should I be turning the volume low enough that I have to eat the mic, but then that's like a frame of reference for like where I should be?
That's a good question. I mean, I know like on the more professionally produced podcasts that I listen to, they always instruct their guests to eat the mic, so they probably do that. But I think you're probably just fine. Just pick a distance.
Right.
You know?
So do I need to
automatically adjust?
Do I need to? I turned off automatic.
Let's do this.
Adjustment.
Let's start it over from the top. Just run the theme song.
I turned off automatic adjustment though because I thought that was what was messing up our. This is great.
Well, maybe
this is a great pod.
Maybe. Anyway, go on. I broke your flow, but I was trying to have a quick aside.
No. Thank you. I'm just glad everyone is hearing me continuing on with it. So Maguire scores a header with like a textbook. This is how you teach someone to attack goal with a header, like down at the ground on an angle to make it really hard for the keeper to get down to save it. And he also was the assist for McTominay's winner against Brentford. So like Maguire's even like he's only been called into service in like the last few games, and he's been good. Like he's been one of I think he was man of the match against Sheffield United. Just like ridiculous. But also, what does that say about this team? That it's Maguire and Onana that have saved us embarrassment. Like the rest of the team is still not generating chances for Rasmus Højlund. Like Rasmus Højlund's not getting service really. He's doing a lot of work, impressive work, but like he's kind of on an island at times. So like the team is still not functional. We're still not able to build out of the back.
So many good pieces though now.
But there's still a lot of missing pieces. Like Varane only just came back. Yeah. And then Martinez is out until basically Christmas. He had surgery again on the injury that he had surgery on end of last year. Yeah, he came back kind of injured, I guess. Jesus. And just had so now he's out for like another 3 months or whatever. But we only just against Copenhagen got a left back. Which is the one we have on loan from Spurs.
Ew.
Sergio Reguilon. So like we've been missing like actual players who have ever played the left back position before. Casemiro was suspended because of his red card against Bayern against Copenhagen, so kind of down a midfielder, but reinforcements are coming. Kobe Maino. I don't know how to say his name yet because he's 18 years old. But yeah. He looked great in our tour. Like maybe he looked like the best midfielder in our tour. So he is a young stud who hopefully will play a role. Getting Varane back is huge. We will be getting Wan-Bissaka back soon, which will be huge. We are missing like Casemiro will be back for the next match. It's starting to we're starting to have the pieces, but you know, things are still very broken. There's mild optimism at best, is what I would say.
I mean, based on sort of where you are emotionally as an Arsenal or as a United fan, uh, what does the Champions League mean to you? You know, like what is the point of it for you this season?
It's not to win it, but I think it's
That's
to win.
hard to do.
I think it's to win some pride, like losing away to Bayern. I think most teams would lose away to Bayern. They're like one of the best Champions League teams in history. Like
Sure.
their record is ridiculous in the group stage. I think they like never lose. Losing to Galatasaray, not happy about that. I think that was at Old Trafford.
That was.
That was an embarrassing game. Højlund played amazingly, and the defense, which was missing, I think, almost the whole back line. Like we had midfielders and all sorts of players playing out of position, but still embarrassing. And I
That
think
was the most pessimistic I've been for United in a while when you lost at home to Galatasaray. I was like,
so that was the most optimistic you've been.
yeah, I felt great. It was I was very euphoric.
Oh, I feel really pessimistic for Trump right now. Let me tell you.
And I do, man, for real.
In a way, Trump is also missing his entire back line, and that all of his lawyers are now witnesses against him.
Like, has there ever been a single person who's had more lawyers testify against? You know what I mean? Like, if you live a life where even one of your lawyers has to turn against you, that is a fucking crazy time that you're having. He's up to what, 3, 4 now?
How about he keeps getting lawyers even after Michael Cohen already served jail time for being his lawyer
Wild.
and got out and is now testifying against him again? And there are still lawyers that are like, I could use an addition over my garage.
Yeah, exactly. Stereotypical Barbie lawyer just cried. Did you see that video?
What is stereotypical Barbie lawyer?
He has a lawyer. She's not actually that Barbie looking, but she is like a young blonde woman, and she got some press because when they were taking mugshots of everyone in Georgia, she was the one that smiled really big, but she flipped on him, and she gave this statement, and they filmed it as if it was like a camera that was meant to look up her skirt. Like the camera was like, it was like this. This is like the statement she's giving. And you could see like straight up at her. But she did not, unlike, a normal tilt that way makes you look powerful. She did not look very powerful. She was like crying and sniveling, and it did not look great for her.
If I remember that moment in the news cycle, didn't it almost look like it was an extension for that weird horror movie Smile where they had all the people in like baseball games behind home plate, like doing the creepy smile where they're just like, and it's a creepy smile.
It was very
But that's
creepy.
the whole premise of that movie is that you see a creepy smile and then you kill yourself.
Yeah. To me, what makes a creepy smile is it's forced. Because like a non-creepy smile is like, oh, someone's just smiling, like we're all having fun here. But when someone's like, hey, and it's like, that's fucking creepy. And it was definitely, she made an effort. Like she was like, oh, I have to take a mugshot. Maybe I should smile in it. Didn't work out. I'm sure she'll have a long and happy life.
It's a shame she didn't follow the plot of the movie Smile, because that means that after that mugshot, she probably should have,
I haven't seen the movie. ... But should she kill herself?
It's one of those movies, Jeff, that you should just read the Wikipedia of and then reference it on your podcast a few months later.
Yeah. Is it for that? And because that's how I feel about Black Mirror episodes, where it's like they're not actually fun to watch, but they do have they always have an interesting idea at the you know what I mean? Where what if we could like rewind our own memories and stuff? But I've never sat down to a Black Mirror episode and be like, wow, that was a good hour. Of my life. I just want to hear other people talk about it. Like, please spoil Black Mirror for me.
Because they're bummers.
They are.
And this movie's a bummer. I'm of course being facetious. I don't want anyone to kill themselves. If anyone who's listening is considering killing themselves,
Please call Trump's lawyer so that she fucking kills herself.
speak to a professional. Try not to blame us for whatever's going on in your life because this podcast sucks. But like, you don't have to listen. Let's be
You
real.
really don't. And to
Why
be
are
fair,
you listening?
the vast majority of people are taking us up on that offer very wisely, and they seem to be living happy lives.
Most people seem to have no trouble not listening. What's your deal?
Yeah. You're addicted to this shit? You can't get enough? What the fuck is wrong with you?
You know what I can't get enough of, Jeff? I can't get enough of hearing that someone has beaten Manchester City in something.
It's wild. Dude, we've now beaten them twice this season. If you count
time?
if you count our Community Shield penalty shootout win,
I don't count that. That's a
which
friendly.
many people do not. But I mean, it's a friendly, but it's also a trophy, and it's obviously I wasn't bragging on that one too much because you don't even remember it, but it does. I don't know. I am kind of happy to think that like, hey, we've played them twice now, and they have nothing, and we have two things.
Well, the thing about City that's been interesting to witness is that when they got rid of Gundogan, because he's getting older, he had been a pretty significant contributor to them, and this season he's continued being that for Barcelona. But it's interesting that then they got the Kevin De Bruyne injury, so those are two 30-something midfielders, and now it's all on Rodri and Bernardo Silva pretty much. So like, it's shocking that City didn't reinforce an area that was obviously gonna be an issue.
Well, it's also like they're one of the only teams that I've ever seen downshift like that. Like Chelsea buy $100 million to $200 million worth of players every summer, whether they need them or not. And sometimes when they don't need them, it actually fucks them up because it's like, well, now we have a bunch of extra egos in the room and a bunch of moving pieces, and we never quite. And it's been strange to watch City sort of stand pat for a season and a half now. When even last season, like, it wasn't like they walked the title, like it was competitive-ish, like, and I think this season they're not even in first place. So, I don't know. Strange times.
Who is? Is it you or is it Liverpool?
No, it's Spurs because of us. Yikes.
How funny to the neutral would it be if Spurs wins the league? 1, the second Harry Kane leaves.
Yeah.
2, because only by the amount of points.
Take down City. Yeah. No, for sure. The thought has definitely occurred to me. I mean, even this week, there's a bunch of like weird number stuff where like if you look at them, they're 2 points ahead of us in the table. And so if we hadn't fucked up against Chelsea, then we'd be right next to them. And then even the goal difference would have been the same. So we're getting to like tiebreaker on tiebreaker on tiebreaker. And we didn't get to that. But in the end, they're 2 points clear right now. And you can say that's because we beat City, or you can say that it's because they're the best team. But I don't know.
I remember, you know what? I listened to our last episode because I think we did it like 8 years ago. And sometimes I just listen to the episodes to pretend that you and I are having a present day conversation. But I think you challenged me when I was doing my first, like, I think Big Ange is the real deal. And you were like, we'll see. Now that it's been a few weeks later, have you at all changed your perspective on Spurs or him as a manager? Or is it in your blood to say that they're going to fall apart, like, even through the last match week of the season?
I mean, I do think whatever you feel about their individual players and their coach, and honestly, like, for the last basically the entire time that I have really, really followed the Premier League, they've always had good teams, which is kind of an anomaly. But I do think it's similar to like being a Red Sox player in the 90s, where you're just carrying around this extra weight of expectation / curse. And I mean, it's easy to say a team is cursed because you look around and you say, well, there's only 1 out of 20 of them that win the league every year, and in most sports, there's one team that wins and there's the other 98% of them that don't. But I think, I don't know, there's something extra wrong with them.
It'd be 95%, right?
Well, in this one. But, many other leagues are 30 teams, 32. I was rounding.
Meet the Stalkers is nothing if not consistent on doing the math. Most of our games have been math-based.
This is a
So,
math podcast. We are followed by mathematicians, and we owe them statistics.
Meet the Stalkers, the podcast that counts.
Oh,
there we go. So but you're still cautious.
I mean, look, they're a good team. They like, statistically speaking, whatever. Since we are a statistics podcast, as we just established, they probably should have won the league between now and 1961 or whatever it was the last time. They've never won a Premier League, obviously, but I don't look at them and think that's a Premier. Like, at best, I think that they're the rich man or the poor man's version of Arsenal last season, which is like a team that's got some things going for it and it's got a nice little patch of form in the first half of the season. But there's no way, right?
And like a kind of revamped style now that like everything's not going through Kane. We talked about that. I think you referred to it. Was it the Patrick Ewing effect?
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Because don't the Knicks suck with or without Patrick Ewing?
Yeah, true. The Knicks would always. It comes from a guy who's not a big Knicks fan, but it comes from Bill Simmons, the sports guy, and he was a big NBA fan, big Celtics guy, and kind of hated the Knicks because of Red Sox Yankees reasons, even though the rivalries don't exactly transfer, but the city rivalries do. But yeah, I think that there's some truth to that. And I think in a weird way, we might look back at the last few years of Kane that they had and think, why did they waste that with Mourinho and Conte and these guys who like, they don't even want to play offense. And you have this, beyond generational talent who's come through your system and it's going to anchor you up front. And they just didn't, he had to do so much more than he needed to. I mean, what if Harry Kane in his very prime, because think about how much they were playing 5 at the back. They were playing counterattacking bullshit, like Italiano football. Like, what if he had been playing in a swashbuckling team that was like the other 90% of Spurs teams for the last 80 years, Maybe he would have been a guy who scored 40 a season. Maybe he would have been thought of as the Lewandowski. I don't know. Maybe he is already thought of as the Lewandowski of England. But
do you think that the reason that they played that way is just a lack of belief because of the very history you talk about? So they're like, we just need to be not embarrassing.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
I mean, the one thing that I've always loved about Spurs, which is a weird thing for an Arsenal person to say, is like, I think that they kind of get the bigger picture of the game in some ways where like they used to have all those weird slogans around White Hart Lane that said like the game is about glory and to dare is to do and all that stuff. And it's like,
and just don't lose.
Well, like, cause I mean, you could probably speak to this as the winner of last year's Carling Cup, that like silverware is really not the only thing you're judging this on. Like, you'd probably trade that Carling Cup for like a few more wins in certain competitions last year, a few more goals at certain points of the season. So ultimately, I think they sort of sacrificed who they are as a club. Whereas like, I don't know. I don't think that we have. And I think that bodes well for Arsenal. Like we've kind of had the same identity. Arsene Wenger's team captain is now the head coach or is now the manager. You're going to speak in American.
How did that identity come into play against Chelsea? Because remember, we're covering a lot of matches here, Jeff, and I want to hold you to the fire. And you did drop points against Chelsea FC.
Well, I think if you're going to play an offensively minded strategy against teams away from home who have some good players on them, and those teams get just incredibly lucky. Like, if you saw that Chelsea game,
Tell us what happened.
So Mudryk, the guy who we spent almost all of this time last year talking about who he's probably going to Arsenal, he went to Chelsea instead for a shitload of money.
Was it 100?
I want to say it was over 100, but yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot more. He was the biggest export of the Ukraine that year. Let's just say that they were busy. They had some other things going on, and so he he came there, and then I remember the first game he played for Chelsea because I just happened to watch that, and I thought, wow, I can see why we really wanted him. We've really missed out because he was so dynamic. Like, his lateral ability with the ball, where he could just do that sort of juke move like a 90s era Madden game where you just jump 10 yards to the side, except he would do it with a football stuck to his foot the entire time. And I was like, oh, that's not good that he can do that. He has not played very well since that game. He has not played well at all. On the other hand, in this game, he had, it looked like to me, a cross. It was either a cross or it was the best chip of a goalie I've ever seen because it was like 40 yards out from the wing and it went right over Raya's head in the corner. And then they had a VAR penalty and suddenly they're up 2-0. But I don't know. I think that might have been a nice little wake-up call for Arsenal because Rice had a beautiful goal.
Was it open net?
Yeah, but it was he was so far out, and just the it's like any of those goals where someone kicks it and the goal isn't even on camera, and you're like, what are you? Oh! And it was just beautiful. So I think there's something to be said for last minute comebacks, even if, ultimately, Chelsea is a mid-table team this year. You ought to be able to go away and get 3 points. But on the other hand, at Stamford Bridge, down 2-0 to come away with a point is a pretty good result. And it continues a little streak that I enjoy where Arsenal have gone something like 2 years without giving away all 3 points to any other London club, which is a nice thing to do.
That's a very specific badge to wear.
At Arsenal, when you don't have trophies, what you have is very specific badges.
United has a 40-year record of always winning when there's fog, and we're going to keep that going. We're going to keep that going strong for many years.
Spurs down a man. Mercury in retrograde. That.
Are you so your final verdict, you think Chelsea are still a mid-table team, which is where they finished last year, right?
I think they're upper mid. I think they become, by the end of the season, I think they're like a Europa team.
7th?
That's if I were a betting man, that's what I'd put them. But
they have a young team, so if they're 7th this year, who knows where they are next year?
Yeah, it's almost like spending $1 billion on players might eventually yield something. But
not for all teams, Jeff. Not for all teams. We've already talked about how my team did in the Champions League. What about Arsenal? I heard you played against a certain team in Spain.
We did, and if you watched that game, you would have been reminded almost constantly of Arsenal's record in Spain, where we had not won a Champions League game since 2006, where a young player named Thierry Henry did pretty well. But
never heard of him.
Sevilla have such a weird one where it's like if it were a video game, they would have a strange thing that gave them plus 20 in the Europa League and minus 20 in the Champions League, and it felt like that a bit where, we probably should have scored 3 times and they probably should have scored not at all, but in the end it was 2-1. It felt like we were in charge of the game, but then because of sort of the order that the goals came in, it was a bit of a nail biter. But yeah, we'll take that. That's the hardest game in our group stage is away at Sevilla, and we took 3 points. So the fact that we had dropped points against Arcelon, a French team that almost no one has heard of.
Lens.
My Lens.
RC Lens.
Yeah. We dropped points against them, and it's all good. So
it's all good.
We kind of made up for that. So I'll take that.
Anyone who's listened to this podcast last year at least has a sample of knowing that, like, this isn't normal Arsenal fan behavior. Just like, it's all cool, man. Everything's going to work out. It's fine.
Well, that's when I get into the pessimism. Because if you watched that game, you saw Gabriel Jesus just put on the exact kind of performance that everyone who believed in him thought that he would have constantly. And he more or less does. Like, when he's on the field, I don't remember I mean, honestly, off the top of my head, I cannot think of a single bad game he's had. I'm sure he's had some, but it's just like when I think of him in the lineup, I just think of him creating positive things. Sometimes very positive, sometimes positive, but like he's always adding something. And in this game, he more or less single-handedly with one turn cut out 3 players, put Martinelli through on goal. And it was one of those beautiful passes where, I mean, Martinelli's still in our half when he kicks it. So it's definitely on side, and you get to watch him in slow motion running 50 yards to then go around the goalie and put it in. And then later in the same game, he's doing that thing where if there had been a cameraman lined up perfectly, he could have taken that shot that they took with Maradona where there's like 7 English defenders lined up to try to get him, because there's Gabriel Jesus, and then there's, the left or the right back, and then there's the right wing, and then there's, the right center back cheating over, and they're all there. And he just kind of, he just sort of did that thing where he just kind of kept doing this thing with his head, and then nobody wanted to come anywhere close to him. And then he just put it in the corner because he's like, all right, if nobody's going to come close to me, I'll just do that.
If you're listening at home and you can't see the video, the sound Jeff made was accompanied with like a Jeff having a stroke-esque gesture. So I'm actually not sure if he's all right now.
I'm dying. Call 999.
I mean, at the beginning of that rant, it sounded like you were saying Jesus was born without sin and single-handedly came to save you, and that you just wanted to acknowledge that he is your savior.
I do think that naming yourself after the savior is probably a good way to jinx, like whatever Jack Wilshere means in Celtic, that probably is like God, because like I'm getting real Jack Wilshere vibes with this guy, because every time he comes on and has a game where, I mean, it's a game where 1-2-1, literally you can trace all of the winning back to this one player, and then he goes out with a hammy. Now I'm not sure if we're going to see him anymore. And then suddenly, you have a player that I like very much in Nketiah. But it's like, do I like him a lot as our very best?
Wait, so how long do you think he'll be injured for?
It's not out, and Arteta's always keeps the cards very close to his chest on this. But I think
2 weeks, 4 months, like,
I guess that's the thing with hammies is, it's like, is it a little tweak where he's just going to walk it off, or I don't know. I worry about that one, because the other thing that was great about Jesus this season is they've started realizing like we can start moving him around, and we have all these, and so we've had Jesus play on the left wing, and I mean just everywhere you put him up front, he really does a job, and to be without him for a chunk of time now would suck, but it may very well come
putting him on the left. Has Martinelli not been good this season?
Martinelli's been good, but he is also the other sort of problem with this Arsenal team, and maybe this will be the story when you look back on the Arteta era, is like, well, maybe Arteta won a bunch of games because every game he started the same exact best 11 players, and then they started all getting hurt. And Saka's looking like he's got a case of the Wilshires lately. Martinelli's looking like he's got a case of the Wilshires lately. Jesus is looking like he's got a case of the Wilshires lately. Havertz just can't play. So then you start subtracting players, and now suddenly we just can't do it. I don't know.
I think everyone's getting hurt this year. It's almost like someone should say something about the fixture congestion.
Yeah. Or maybe we should just take a lot of money from a country that does human trafficking and let them change the position of the World Cup in the schedule so that no one ever gets a break. Did you think about that?
I think that's a good idea. We could probably get some money that way.
Oh, shit. I'm glad you mentioned that, because right now is the last possible day I could enter the Euro lottery for tickets, because the Euro is going to be this summer.
Oh, is it?
I mean...
Well, if you get tickets, I will fly there.
Yeah. I'll get as many as I can.
You're like, actually, I just wanted to hang out with Schuyler, so I spent $12,000 on these 2 tickets.
It's similar to Premier League tickets, where it's like, if you can get them from legal means, they're like $30. But then if you can't, then how much you got?
Jeff, this is the one time where being born a straight white male in America is hurting you.
Yeah. I'm not getting any diversity scholarships to the Euro, I'll tell you that.
It's not that you haven't applied for them.
Yeah, I've applied. Like Lithuanian American doesn't count.
We still have 5 more topics to cover.
Let's go.
All right, so really quickly, City versus United, next league match. I am not excited for this at all.
No.
I think that even an injured City can kind of carve us open like a Thanksgiving goose, Christmas goose, Thanksgiving turkey, Christmas goose. No, they could carve us open like a Thanksgiving goose, which is
that's the one. You don't even. It's not even the main showbird. You just fucking go at that thing.
it's the brutality is unexpected, and that's what I would say about cutting open a goose on Thanksgiving. So I mean, I wish I could be positive. I don't see reason to be positive. Like any single positive I look at, whether it's Onana, seems like maybe he's not afraid of the goalie part anymore, or at least at the moment. 3 goals in the first 10 minutes against City, and that's shattered. And also, we're not generating enough chances against like high-level high school teams from Denmark. How are we going to even hang with Manchester City? My guess, we lose 3-1. I wish I could be more positive, but I'm too depressed.
Dang. I don't know.
We beat them last year. It was a surprise, but I feel like we played with the same 11 and got into a good run of form, and everyone was hyped. And we had Lisandro Martinez, who balled out, and it's not the same team this year, man. Even the good players aren't the same players this year.
Yeah.
So, so that's that. I mean, I don't know if you think the result will be any different, but we can just talk about you getting to play against the Sheffield United that if we could beat them, Jeff, I think you should be okay.
This could be a real trap game because you look at, we've had big Champions League match. We've had Chelsea. We've had City. So, like, this one has probably not got the attention it deserves. Still, every Premier League game's a tough one. Hopefully we'll take the points in this one. I don't know.
Did we mention the words Sheffield United?
Yes, we did.
Okay, just making sure. That is the team with whom we are referring to. Of whom?
The other United.
The Margarine United. All right. We've not done the podcast, Jeff, for so long that we have not covered the fact that Manchester United, the sale, there's been some huge developments. If you're hearing this podcast, you're like, no shit, man. We heard about it weeks ago, but Qatar has dropped out of their pursuit of Manchester United. They never felt like there was a deal to be done with the Glazers at all. And Jim Ratcliffe, who at one point wanted to own all of the Glazers shares and be in control of Manchester United outright, has been like, oh, I don't really have a lot of money, so maybe I just buy like a quarter of United. Maybe I just like get like a little shuggy for daddy. And he's bid 1.5 billion or 1.4 billion or whatever it is for, I think, 25% of Manchester United, which would still have him be it would own less than the Glazers, but he would have a seat on the board. And the rumor is he's trying to negotiate for taking over footballing control of United, and the Glazers would continue having commercial control of United. The problem being, when you need to make a football decision that has commercial implications, or you need money for someone, or you want to get rid of Jadon Sancho because he's being a little dickhole, or you want to fix up the stadium, or anything, it's still the Glazers making those decisions, and they are the worst. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they are bad. They're bad people who don't want to do anything but take money out of the club. So mixed feelings about this. If it leads to them eventually, even if it's a slow, like, chemotherapy process to get rid of them, if Jim Ratcliffe buying a quarter of the club has a pathway to full ownership, okay, it's better than the Glazers for sure, even though he's, not a saint. And part of me is like, we're losing the FIFA cheat code money that Qatar was going to bring, but then part of me is like, well, at least I don't have to, like, be ashamed of the, like, civil rights implications of being a United fan. So, like, are we going to be as successful as we would have been if Qatar had taken over? Who knows?
You get to root for the good billionaire now.
But he's not even that. He's like one of the biggest
Yeah,
polluters in the UK. So like it's still not great.
yeah,
He just hasn't publicly beheaded anybody, and that's where we're at.
yeah. And that's something in this day and age. I'll tell you that.
I'm guessing even like you've been busy, but I'm guessing you saw this Jim Ratcliffe stuff come out too, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
big
yeah.
news. So like,
It is though, but it's like it's a weird one to even wrap your head around because okay, it's like you're not doing it. It's like he's kind of giving them like a promise ring, you know, where you're like, well, all right, like
he's letting the Glazers soak inside of him.
yeah, no, I think he wants to soak inside of them,
I mean,
and every
we'll
Manchester
see.
United supporter is been jumping
Against
on
it.
the bet. No, they haven't been doing that. Do you know that?
No,
Have you
because
heard that wrinkle of soaking?
yeah, that it's someone. Well, could you ever see Jury Duty?
No.
Watch Jury Duty.
Okay.
Watch Jury Duty. It's a fake trial that was set up where everyone's an actor except one juror.
Oh my god.
And at one point, a live demonstration of soaking comes into play. That's all I'll say.
Oh
It's
god.
8 episodes or whatnot, but it's like I think it's a truly unique show so far. I hope that they do more different versions of it because it's
Huh.
funny. It's brilliant. It's
Wow.
just like an elaborate. It's like a Nathan For You sketch about one person. That's 8 episodes of messing with just this one
The
innocent,
plan?
decent person. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. So, but you're as an Arsenal fan, are you like, I'm glad it's Ratcliffe and not Qatar, or are
I
you
mean,
like,
on some level, I am. I don't know. I'm glad that you're not. There's not another cheat code in the mix because there's already Chelsea with a cheat code that they just like. They're still so bad at actually playing the game that doesn't matter. And then what's that?
did you not see like I put a thumbs up and like a thumbs up balloon exploded behind me in the video chat, and now I can't get it to
Oh,
go again, probably because this microphone's in the way. Nope.
I don't. I've never seen the graphic.
I swear it happened. Now we're just, hey, if you're listening, now we're just holding the
Tyler's
thumbs up.
hallucinating. We're both dead.
No, it was real. All right, whatever. I'll keep doing it. Just ignore that I'm doing it.
Okay.
So
What
how
was
do you
I
feel?
saying?
How do you feel about it?
I didn't love the idea of Man United being taken over by someone with an unlimited checkbook, but I also I don't think that that's stopping. You know, it's like maybe they just buy some other team. Maybe they just buy Sheffield United. Maybe they buy, you know, Bristol City. I don't know. But it's not that isn't going away. That as crazy as the money has gotten in this league, there's still crazier money out there. So that's not going anywhere. And in a
Well,
weird way, those teams are still slightly underpriced, in my opinion.
I think that City has to lose the league this year. If City wins the league this year, it's proven that the ultra money once implemented is not defeatable.
Yeah.
Like we need even the best like oil funded teams to have off seasons and on down cycles. Like we need that as fans, or what's the point of watching this league anymore?
It's a good point, but if they have to prove that by letting Tottenham win it, I am not going to endorse this round of script writing.
Somehow Leicester from the championship wins the Premier League in 2024. We're all down with that, right?
It'd be the ultimate underdog story, Schuyler.
They shouldn't have won. They couldn't have won, but they Jamie Vardy will not be stopped.
It's Wrexham! They've won the Premier League! Unbelievable!
Oh, Wrexham. What a fun little comic you are of a football club. All right, Jeff, I do think it's appropriate for you to tell us what's been going on with the non-recyclables. I heard you just performed at a fringe festival of sorts. That's so unlike you.
We have. We just finished our run at the Clapham Fringe. Went very well. Thanks for all the people that came out. That was fun. It was a good time. It was. I will say, Clapham is far away from the rest of London, and we had late time slots, so we didn't draw the same crowds that we had at the Camden Fringe, but that was okay. We also had another gig Monday night in Brixton at the Hope and Anchor. And
Brixton's
with
cool.
Brixton is cool. And this is a cool group of people called Duck Duck Goose. They do like an improv jam. It was a lot of fun. It was weirdly, because it's one of those, there's some improv shows where you go and almost everyone else there is a fellow improviser and it's just a self-licking ice cream cone. Then there are other shows where it's like, okay, we have like a chance to make like real fans here. And this one was like there was literally at the beginning of the show, they say, hey, has anybody not seen improv before? And we'll tell you about it. And there was one guy that's like, huh? And other than that, everyone knew it. But
Jeff raised his hand.
It was such a good show. Yeah, no. And it was a bit. But it was such a fun show. And I got to meet our friend Lizzie's new boyfriend. And he seems very nice.
Dish. Everyone that listens to this soccer podcast would love to hear.
It's a bit of a meet cute or a well, not a meet cute, but like become a couple cute because they have known each other since high school.
Is this Benedict Cumberbatch?
No. Always thought highly of each other, and he seems to be a very cool guy. But then they're like life pulled them in different directions. He now works for the World Health Organization or something like that down in Geneva.
Who? Wait, who are we talking about?
Who? Mike Jones. But yeah.
Did you just dox her boyfriend?
No. I was just making a joke that if you had listened to rap, you would know. What's the guy Mike Jones? There was this guy that he would always talk about. He would always say his full name in like raps, like his. How a rap name is usually like Squee Dizzle or whatever. Like his rap name was Mike Jones, and then
my name's Mike Jones, and I'm here to say.
But then whenever, because he would always say like my name's Mike Jones, then everybody like who? And like Mike Jones, like. And it was great.
That gives you a whole verse of just like the call and answer of like who?
That
Mike Jones.
Exactly.
Who?
Well, because here's the thing. Mike Jones, not a great rapper. So like there's an entire verse of his songs where like, I'm Mike Jones. Who Mike Jones? The one and only. You can't clone me. I'm Mike Jones. He also put out his real cell phone number on like this like record that he put out, and then he didn't realize that it would blow up and it went platinum. And so like I still like 281-330-8004. Hit Mike Jones on the low because Mike Jones about to blow.
I'm Mike Jones. Call one of my phones.
Yeah. It's good when your name rhymes with bones. I mean,
what else rhymes with phones except for bones?
Scones.
Scones.
Except for scones.
Scones.
Mike Scones. A British
That's Mike
rapper.
Scones. Mike Scones.
Mike Scones? Sorry, I mispronounced my name.
It has to be Mike Johns, who's into scones.
Yeah, John Scones.
We got one more topic here. Although I would implore everyone that's listening, follow the non-recyclables on Instagram.
On Instagram at the _non_recyclables. I'm guessing the _non_recyclables.
The non_ version of the non-recyclables was taken?
Probably, yeah. I imagine.
Underscores are really tricky. All right. The United States national team, the U.S. Natties, which is never how they've ever been referred to before, played two matches against Germany and Ghana. Germany, it was like kind of our first 11, our starting like our best 11. And in the match against Germany, we went out to an early lead. Christian Pulisic scored a bomb from like he dribbled particularly well, even for him. He's a great dribbler, but then like I did not know he had an upper 90 cannon in him. I thought he was more of like a dribble around the goalie and like kind of pass it in goal scorer, but like no, he was great. And then unfortunately Germany's class just sort of ended up showing up and they won 3-1. This is a weakened Germany, but they're still pretty good. But then a few days later, Ghana, who I don't know if you followed the history of these two teams in the past in World Cups and whatnot. They've knocked us out of multiple World Cups. They were kind of a bogey team until I think the last time we played them in the World Cup. In this match, I'm like, oh, well, we lost to Germany 3-1. We might lose this one as well. We spanked Ghana with both hands and a cricket bat. It was 4-0 in the first 30-something minutes.
And it's very difficult to spank someone with both hands at once. It's like trying to throw 2 punches at once. Like, it just doesn't feel right.
4 punches. Like, 1 punch for each goal. 2 of the punches are coming from feet. So it's like you really just got to throw yourself into midair and push all of your limbs out at the same time to do that kind of punching. But it was great. I mean, I think I'll look it up. I feel like everybody scored a goal. I want to say Fowler and Balogun.
Rania had 2 and Balogun had 1.
Reina had 2, but like it's really nice that Reina's fitness is finally getting there. He seems to have made up with the coach. Like they seem to be fine. I'm guessing that him getting the job the second time was like contingent on you have to sort this out. I know it's not all your fault, but you're the manager. You got to figure out a way to get your best player on the field and not have him hate you. So like,
which whatever he's done must be pretty fucking amazing. Because like, imagine going in and be like, "Hey, remember that time I ruined the World Cup in your prime? Yeah. So I was thinking you could do really well against Ghana in a friendly."
Do you remember the time your mom dragged me through a very private 25-year-old domestic disturbance situation? I do remember that as well.
I mean, I really wonder, like, at this point, like, who is the most aggrieved between those? Because it's like, for Gio, it's kind of like your parents are trying too hard for you, and they've clearly overstepped some bounds. But
Greg Berhalter's wife is the most aggrieved, I would say. She got kicked, had to get over it, had to get past it, and then it was turned into CNN news 25 years later. Look what just happened. Look at this. Look at this thumbs up, you motherfucker. Do you see that?
Boom. Look at that. All right, get ready for a thumbs down. I wonder if that was like our viewer or something that did that.
Hey, viewer, if you did that, how do we do that?
Yeah.
Do another thumbs up or a thumbs down. But it came. I was just on my screen.
I saw it that time.
I feel like it's gestural because Zoom has added this feature.
I saw it in the middle of my screen.
It's for me. It was just on my. Everyone listening is like, I just love verbal descriptions of new Zoom features. We're gonna end soon enough. Chill your tits, audience. Jesus. All right. So it was a great match. International football usually very boring. Both these were pretty interesting for different reasons. It's kind of weird, Jeff, that the United States will be playing at a World Cup and there are no World Cup qualifiers to play. It's only high intensity friendlies between now and then, and the Copa America. Copa America. Too many syllables.
I'm at the Copa America.
Because that's America 4 syllables. Yeah. If you have the ability to thumbs up the fact that we just did the math for the amount of syllables in America, please give us a thumbs up so we can react to it.
America has as many syllables in it as you have freedom in your heart.
4.
America.
So are you suggesting that our southern brothers and sisters that call it Murica have less freedom in their heart, Jeff?
Play the theme song.
Did you get any of that? I was trying to harmonize with your. You can talk about a United match, but you can't talk about Arsenal playing.
You can talk about Berhalter's white snatch.
Oh no, Jeff! Control Alt Delete that one.
Okay. Control Alt Delete that one.
The role of Schuyler Hunt in tonight's show has been played by Jeff Vitkin.
Oh man.
Hey man, I think that we both got to go. But I miss you so strongly that it hurts. It feels like heartburn. Let me know when you get those Euro tickies, and I will desperately fling myself to the right location of Europe.
Sweet.
Although, remember, we're still trying to maybe do 420 Oktoberfest, so
That's a good point.
Think about that.
Very good point. All right.
All right, do you want to say any last words before I shoot you?
Just do it.
Meet the Suckers. Meet the Suckers. A soccer podcast that probably won't last. Meet the Suckers. Meet the Suckers. Schuyler and Jeff don't know how to rhyme.